Welcome back to the Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. As always, I am Jack, and today I'm joined by Calvin and Charlie. How are we, lads?
This is always the awkward bit, when someone says, "How are you, lads?" I'm buzzing, mate. It's the first time in a long time I've been happy after a Hibs game, so I'm doing really good, mate. How are you?
I'm over the moon, eh? Double weekend for me with the Hibs. Obviously, the lads got to win it up at Arbroath, and then I watched the Hibs women's very tight game against Gartcairn, just the 12-0 against Gartcairn. But brilliant weekend. It was nice to see all the players and everything. All the players, obviously well-known face around the women's teams. It was nice for the players to speak to me, and it was a really good atmosphere down at the Amundvale. Loads of folk with their families there and enjoying what was an excellent game of football from a Hibs point of view. So, Calvin, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm knackered. I stayed up and watched the Super Bowl last night. I wasn't going to. I didn't mean to. It just sort of happened because it was quite a good game. So
I caught the first half and then I was like, sack it, bedtime.
It was good. It was good. The halftime show was good. Like, I enjoyed it. I just praying for it a wee bit this morning, but thankfully I've got a week off, so I'll be more than all right to recharge my batteries.
Well, there you go. That's what you get for watching American sport. Anyway, we'll move on. And of course, the first big thing we can talk about is obviously Hibs men and their 3-1 win over Arbroath. Negotiated a very tricky Scottish Cup tie over Arbroath at Gayfield. So we'll start off. And Charlie, you were at the game. You were up at Gayfield with our good friend Ryan. So do you just want to tell us what was the atmosphere like and what was the general buzz around Gayfield? How were the travelling support? Were we in fine voice?
Aye, we really were, mate. 1,500 Hibs fans went up, which is good for a Sunday 12:30 with no trains. It's a good number. Good atmosphere before the game. I got in just like 5 minutes before kickoff, but it was good. I think typical Scottish Cup game. Good atmosphere for both ends, and both sets of fans. Were ready to go. So. Cracking atmosphere before the game for sure.
That's good to hear. And was Dick Campbell behaving himself?
He was in the stand for the first half, mate, so he was out of bother. But he was a bit animated for the stand, and good man.
That's good. So we'll move on and we'll talk about the starting 11. So obviously starting 11 comes out. Calvin, what was your reaction to the starting 11 that Sean Maloney picked for the game?
Initially, I didn't have a reaction because I was out in Glasgow and my phone was dead. So I didn't see any of the build-up. I didn't see the team line-out or anything. But once I seen it, I was quite pleased to see that Melkerson was on the bench. I thought, it was quite funny. I was reading online after trying to phone everyone saying, "Oh, Christ, he's alive." Which is quite good patter. But I thought it was, again, different from what it has been. So still a lot of uncertainty. I feel like he probably could have gave Dabrowski a game. I don't think Dabrowski done anything to deserve to be dropped. I thought it was just, it doesn't make sense. But obviously it makes sense because he obviously fancies Macy as number one, so he's no, and Dabrowski is obviously just in there because he was covering for his injury. But I still think he could have had the cup keeper. I mean, we've talked about it on the pod before. And it would have been a chance to get him some minutes and get his confidence up in that. And that's probably his level, do you know what I mean? Or at least he'd be comfortable at that level. I think for me, I don't know why he doesn't start Chris Mueller. I just really like Mueller. I think he's good. I think he's positive every time he gets on the ball. I think he does lose the ball sometimes quite easily, but at the same time, if you watch Bruno Fernandes, like how many times does Fernandes lose the ball in the Premier League? But he's still asking to get back on it. Like, it doesn't put him off, and I feel like Mueller's quite the same. Although he is quite dramatic with his diving and that, like if he gets touched, like he does go doing very Americanized, where he's rolling about holding his leg like he's been shot and that. But I thought he deserved to start. And it looked like quite a mix. We've got too many wingers for me. Who do we have in the middle? Like Jasper,
Mitchell.
Jasper, Mitchell, Doig, Cadden. Like there was a lot there, eh? So a lot of like fast sort of pacey players rather than like skillful players, which I thought was quite interesting. But other than that, it was all right. I think I'll come on to talk about it in a wee minute, but that was it really.
Yeah, I think I was, to be honest, I wasn't really surprised. And I overslept a little bit on a Sunday morning, missed 26 minutes of the game. But that's me being a lazy boy. But yeah, and I was actually quite happy. I was really happy to see Jasper start. I think he deserved that because he was good again when he came on against St Mirren, and he looked lively in that Arbroath game as well. So I think we've got a player on our hands there. I agree with Kelvin. I think it's obviously it's a very European thing, but I'd like to see us have a cup keeper because Dabrowski deserves that, and the more regular minutes he gets, the more his game's going to improve as a goalkeeper.
We're just stunting his growth, like.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And he's getting too old as a goalkeeper to be sitting on the bench. It's as simple as that. But we've had this debate before, so we'll not touch on it too much. But yeah, I was happy with the starting 11. To be honest, what I expected for what Maloney had, and it was great to see Melkerson on the bench. Obviously, he didn't get the game time, but it's good to see him on the bench. And it's good to know that at least Maloney feels comfortable putting him in a matchday squad. So fingers crossed we'll see some of them against Ross County. That would be great. Now, Charlie, one point that we sort of picked up on, and I wanted to talk about this, is Lewis Stevenson. Again, a fantastic performance, and we've spoke about this before here on the podcast about how he's maybe a bit like Whittaker, what Jack Ross did with Whittaker towards the end in the 1920 season where he started playing him in midfield. Stevenson looked absolutely fantastic in midfield, absolute powerhouse engine. Of course, you were live there to see it. Lewis Stevenson rolling back the years. What are your thoughts on that?
Initially, I was surprised that he played him in centre mid again. I thought he would have threw Josh Campbell back in the mix, but no, I think it's probably his strongest position now. I think because he's not got the legs anymore. But no, if he can stand in the middle of the park and win the ball back and spray it, then that's ideal for me. Like he's a good player. He always has been, and it's nice to see that he's sort of been persisted with in a position that he started his career in. So I think, I think I was happy to see him back in centre mid again.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I think he's not got the legs to be a fullback anymore. I think we've got to be honest there. You need a bit of pace about you as a fullback, especially in the modern game when it's all about attacking fullbacks and wing backs and everything like that. I think Lewis Stevenson was very old-fashioned in that respect. So I think putting him up into midfield has really worked. And I think, to be honest, and I've said this before, and I'm picking up again, Liam down the slope said it as well, that you could put Lewis Stevenson anywhere on the park and put in a shift.
I know, but do you think it's papering over the cracks?
I don't think so.
It's not a long-term solution. He can't do it next year.
I don't think so at all. I think he's doing a good job in there. And I think obviously he's getting to that point and he's at the twilight of his career. I think he will be like Whittaker, where he will have to take a step back into maybe a coaching role, or maybe he's always talked about possibly going back to Wraith to finish his career, because obviously he's a Kirkcaldy boy. So I think you can look at it like that, but at the same time, I think he does a job in midfield, and he put in a really good shift. For my money, he was in contention for man of the match yesterday. Obviously, I wouldn't give it to him, but he was in contention for it. For what I watched most of the game before it went out, and I think he was fantastic. And he did put in a good shift, and I think age is just a number in football. You can have young players that are really good, you can have old players that are really good. You look at guys like Schweinsteiger that were going in well into their mid-30s and everything like that. So I think Stevenson, I think we've got at least another half a season out of him in that position. That's sort of rejuvenated him a bit.
I think when the midfield is obviously like we're all frustrated that we never brought in maybe another centre midfielder in the window, but to have someone like Stevenson who is a utility man who can play there, I think it's obviously not a long-term option, but I think to have that for, he played there against Rangers, and I think he was, one of the better Hibs players. He was actually, Jack, I'll disagree with you. He was my man of the match yesterday. He wasn't in contention for me. He was the man of the match. But I think, if we can have someone like that, McGuinness will probably not see again. Joe Knowles out for I don't know how long. Doyle, Hayes and Campbell, very similar players. So and Ewan Henderson, I think we'll probably come on to that, but how good he was yesterday as well. But I think to have someone else like Stevenson who who can jump in there is good. I think that's what we need. We need players like that in the team. So no, I'm happy with him for a short term fix. Obviously, I don't want it to be a long term one, but short term, happy with it.
Yep, I've got to agree with Evan there. I think, yeah, my man in the match. I don't know. It's a tough one. I think Stevenson has a few in there for me, but we'll get on to that. So we'll move on, and before we talk about players that stood out, does anything like that, we'll sort of talk about the goals. We'll start off, and I'll come to you first with this one, Charlie. Arbroath go 1-0 up, and much to the delight of Jambos, it was Whiting that scored. I think not the best from Doig, some getting caught out at the back post again. So what were your thoughts on the Arbroath goal, Charlie? And what do we need to be doing better in situations like that?
I've got to be honest, mate, I never seen their goal because of where I was standing in the stand. I was right next to the commentary bin. There's a big wooden thing, so I couldn't see the goal. But I watched it back. It's shocking defending. And Macy didn't command his box for it. Again. Full stop. But no, I think shocking defending, and it had to be Craig Whiting, didn't it? I think I'd said to Ryan before the game, like, we were getting him at tight, calling him a Jambo, insert expletive here. And I was like, watch him score. And he did 5 minutes later, and he shushed us in the process. But nah, shocking defending, but nah, it's really all you can say. Like, it's probably a well worked goal from their behalf. They started well, and they probably deserve to be 1-0 up based on the 5 minutes of the game how the game had started. So no, I think it's an awful goal to lose, but thankfully that wasn't how the game finished.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you when we've got well, I would say a confident win. You know, it's 2-goal cushion, but yeah, I think you look at that, and how many times have we conceded from a situation like that? I think it's still something we need to work on. I think, and of course, yeah, it had to be Whiting, you know, because you know, I was seeing these things like Hearts fans I know were putting things like "don't be upset" and everything like that, which came back to bite them. I've got to say, I've got to say that to all the Jambos that were getting very excitable, shall we say, over that. Did it work? Did that end well for you? Absolutely not. But anyway, enough of that. Before I get too animated.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, one of the things I thought about the goal, Jack, just before you move on, was that it looked like, again, like the lack of consistency at the back. Like, it was it's unlucky because Doig goes to head it and it, like, sort of falls down his back. But I feel like, again, it's like lack of consistency for, like, no consistently picking a proper back 4 or 3 or 5. Like, Rocky's out position, Portis is out position at times. Like, Doig just doesn't know where the ball is, things like that. And it's like there's no consistency between the back 4 and the goalie. And I think for me, that's something we were really good at when we were when Rocky was in goals, like Charlie saying he could command his box. And I think if you look at Jack Ross, I mean, we conceded goals this season. Crosses has been our Achilles heel or our kryptonite. It's been really, really poor this year. And that was with Jack Ross. And even without Jack Ross, the problem is still there. So you've got to start to point the fingers at perhaps the goalkeeper, because if you look at last year when we had Rocky, Marciano, it didn't happen. It didn't happen that often. Do you know what I mean? But this year, Macy, it's been happening pretty much since he came in the door. So for me, that was something I noticed, and I just thought, I don't know if it's Maloney's lack of consistency with team selection at the back, so there's no familiarity between them. Because like I said, underneath that, when we had, you know, it was McGregor, Hanlon, Gray and Stevenson at the back with Marciano and goals. Like, that was a rock. Do you know what I mean? They knew each other, they knew how each other played and things like that, and there was no issues. But the defence seems to be, again, all over the shop.
Yeah, well, we'll move on, and luckily it didn't stay 1-0 Arbroath. And Dimitri Mitchell again, very similar, I'd say, to the goal he scored against Livingston. Dimitri Mitchell gets us level. Great ball, first of all, in for Stevenson for him. And then he's there. I think great awareness from Mitchell. We sort of talked about it when we were talking about his goal against Livingston. Great awareness from Mitchell. He's there, and he manages to get in the back of the net. So, Calvin, what were your thoughts on Mitchell's goal?
It was a weird header. He sort of headed it down at the ground there, but it's a hard one to save that. I think he done well. but I think there was a lot of things that Arbroath done poorly in the lead up to the goal, like their defending, like no closing us down quick enough, leaving Mitchell at the back post on his own. So I think that's kind of what you get for that lower league part-time opposition. They've obviously not had as much time on the training ground to work on these things. But yeah, no, well taken goal. And another ex-Jambo scoring for us, so that'll rub even more salt in their wounds, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was excellent. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones. Obviously we'll talk about the women's game. Michaela McAloney scored an almost identical one against Gart Cairn as well, albeit the scoreline was very different in that game when she scored that goal. But yeah, I think it was brilliant. I think that's what you get from Mitchell. I think his work rate's fantastic. He had the awareness to just sort of burst in there, and we've been needing that. I think just the awareness to burst in there, and he sees the ball, down you go, cross the line, 1-1. And I think after that, the momentum swung in our favour. After we scored, after we conceded really, but we're working hard and desperately trying to get back into the game and really get Arbroath on the ropes. And yeah, the momentum swings, and we look much the better side after we score. As me and Charlie were discussing it actually, as I was watching in my nice warm house, whilst Charlie was freezing his behind off on the terracing. But yeah, so we go in half time, 1-1. Then we've come out in the second half, and just before we talk about the two goals that sealed it for us, I want to talk about how Arbroath started really well again, and some I'd like to see shaky defending from Hibs. There was a few that I was getting really sort of, oh God, here we go. Especially, I think the one right at the start of the second half when Macy really had to do some what I call kamikaze goalkeeping. Had to launch himself out there, and if White hadn't taken as heavy a touch on that, you could have been talking about 2-1 Arbroath there. So Charlie, what did you think? Did you think we came out and maybe were lacking that little bit of something when we first started the second half? Our heads were down a bit, or what was your view on that?
I think it was very similar to how we started the first half, mate. I think Arbroath were definitely it's still 1-1 at this point, and both teams are still in the game, so Arbroath are probably trying to get a foothold back in it. But no, I think two cracking saves from Macy. And I think that's what he's got in his locker. You know, he is good at saving those kind of shots. But no, I think shaky defending. Rocky was a bit shaky start of the second half, but no, and they were a bit slow when the ball was going over the top. But no, two cracking saves. And the game could have been a different story. Say both of them had went in, it's virtually game over, isn't it? So no, it's just good saves from Macy to keep us in it and to keep the game open.
Definitely. I think when you look at it, I think both probably would have scored one more and probably shut up shop. You know, that's the sort of side they are. Because that's how Dick Campbell has them set up. You've noticed that in games in the Championship, that's what Dick Campbell wants them to do, sort of get a lead and protect it, which is a part-time team, and the only part-time team in the league. That's what you're going to do. So I think, you know, you wouldn't have really expected anything different. But yeah, well done for Macy, I've got to say. And that's what I say. He's not great at commanding his box. Distribution's a bit dodgy. He takes far too long to kick it when it's a goal kick. But I will say it for him, he's an excellent shot stopper. And he did that. Those were big saves from Macy. Talk about big saves. Arbroath keeper Gaston, he made some big saves as well. Quite a few of our chances, but game again, the sort of pendulum swings back in our favour, and eventually we do find that all-important goal. Kevin Nisbet, excellent finish considering the conditions from Kevin Nisbet. And as Tam McManus said on the Hibs TV commentary, you've been crying out for him to do that all game. And he did it. I think you can't take that away from Nisbet. Excellent. First of all, the touch. I'd like to say the touch in those conditions on that pitch was outstanding, and then an excellent finish. So, Calvin, what were your thoughts on Nisbet's goal? And can we say he deserved that moment after some of the stick he's been taken? I think definitely yes. After some of the stick he's been taken from myself mostly, but we'll forget that for today. I'm the Kevin Nisbet fan club. Do you think he deserved that moment, and what did you think of the goal, Calvin?
Aye, of course he deserved that moment because he got himself in the right area. He took the ball on with confidence, and he absolutely smashed it into the roof of the net. And it is what we've been crying out for, because that's the Kevin Nisbet we know. I thought it was just as good as his one he scored against Motherwell at home when he caught on the volley. But I just thought that, you know, that we need to see more of that, just being brave on the ball. like we've been crying out for that like too often at times this year. Too many times we try and walk the ball into the net, or it's almost like when you're playing like FIFA or something, and you get like an extra a couple hundred XP if you score a header or a cross. Like that's what it's like. I like try to score headers and crosses all year. It's like just somebody pick your foot through the ball. But that first touch was beautiful, just to cushion that away and then hit it. That is silky football. Like really, really good for him. And I deserves it because he's came under a lot of criticism. That one would have been a good one to put your fingers in your ears to.
Yeah, I definitely. No, a scrappy goal against Cove. Scoring a wonder goal against Arbroath would have been a better one, definitely. No, but he did deserve that moment. I think we can say that. And then a super sub from Orlando. He gets his first Hibs goal, and that's it. You know, that's the tie signed, sealed, and delivered for us into the next round, into the hat. Chris Mueller, and I think I've got to be honest, I said this to Charlie, been to the Christian Deutsch school of scrappy goals, but it's our first Hibs goal all the same. I think when Chris Mueller was sitting dreaming of playing in Europe, I don't think he ever dreamed that his first goal would be on a muddy, horrible pitch in the northeast of Scotland against a part-time team called Arbroath. I don't think he ever envisaged that, but excellent for Mueller. I will say that Arbroath maybe gifted it to him a little bit. Hamilton, poor clearance, but you've got to be there to score them. I always said that, you know, scrappy goals, and fair play to Mueller.
Yeah.
Not the only American to score for Hibs in the Scottish Cup yesterday, but we'll talk about that later. But fair play to Mueller.
For me, it's something we don't do often enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting on the end of scrappy balls like that. See if we'd gotten on the end of more balls like that against teams this year. I think we'd be in a lot better position in the league, and I didn't think there'd be as many folk greeting. So yeah, that's what we need: a penalty box striker, someone who's in and about the box, looking for those scrappy tap-ins, because it makes a difference. And we've had a lot of them this year that we've missed. So I think that's something we need more of.
Yeah, and I always say it is easier to miss them than it is to score them. Always. I think when you get the ball at your feet like that and you don't really expect it, it's difficult. But Mueller, calm as you like, and yeah, it was great to see him score his first Hibs goal. So Charlie, you want to give your views on the goal?
I think I want to go back to Nisbet's one quickly. I just wanted to touch on just the ball before he does, but the ball for Henderson was absolutely fantastic. It's just the way he turned, like he just pings it, picture perfect. Like that's what we've missed in the midfield this season since McGuinness has been injured. We need
quality.
And Henderson was quick to give the turn on the ball and go, and we've missed that. Like, and he shot outside the box, and it's like, all right, okay, so this is what we've missed. And I think folk forget how out of match sharpness Henderson was, and I think he's coming into that now, and it looks like we've got a player on our hands. But to go to Mueller's goal, I just love it when a defender tries to clear it and they hit it off themselves, and the other team get the chances. It was just brilliant. But no, well taken goal. I think it actually took a wee deflection on the way in as well, but we're not really counting that. It was Mueller's goal. No, good to see him get off the sort of break that duck, like his first goal. That'll do a lot for his confidence. And I think hopefully he kicks on from there. But no, I think all in all, I think if we'd scored 5 or 6 yesterday, I don't think Arbroath could have complained, because I think that was how many chances we had. Like Nisbet had 2 that he put in the net, but he was offside. We had a few that from corners. We had about 4 corners in a minute. That I think Doig put one just past the post, and we were very, very good yesterday. Which that's a rare occurrence for me to say that we were very, very good. I thought once we came into the game. So no, I think good. 3 good goals. 3 good goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely. So, well, Charlie sort of touched on it, but we're going to go for it. I'm going to do 3 players each that stood out to us in that game. I'll start off with you, Calvin. 3 players that stood out to you that they were the standout performers in that Arbroath game.
Well, obviously, as I said at the start, I've only seen the highlights, so I didn't watch the game from start to finish because I was out. But I think Nisbet's probably due an honourable mention. Everyone seems to be raving about Stevenson, but I never seen that. I'll move on to Charlie because I never seen the game, so I would just say obviously Nisbet's probably decent. Nisbet.
You're gonna, okay. We'll go.
I'll go for that. David Gray
on the naughty step. You're not allowed to miss Hibs match.
This is always a football answer.
Me and Charlie both sat in very wet. Oh, not Charlie stood.
I stood. Thank you very much.
You stood. I sat.
Listen, I'm on holiday this week. Anyway, 3 players that have pressed me in a Hibs shirt: Anthony Stokes, David Gray, and Anthony Stokes.
Anyway, Charlie, since you actually watched the game, 3 players that stood out to you whilst you were getting frostbite on the terrace up there.
I've actually got to say I never got frostbite because I had one of their steak and black pudding pies that were fantastic. Anyway, less of that. Stood out to me yesterday. Kevin Nisbet, 100% is there. Ewan Henderson as well, and Lewis Stevenson. The 3. And if I could have a wee honourable mention, he didn't have the best game yesterday, but Rocky, at one point, the ball's coming over and he just absolutely howitzes it into the North Sea. It was amazing. And if you can see. If you'll see a clip online, try and watch it. But the ball is just coming, and he's like, "Kim what? Bang!" right out the stadium into the water.
Away you go. But
so there's my 3.
There's going to be a Faroese fisherman finding a league ball in his fishing boat very, very soon. But
what about Craig White? And he stood out. He made an arse himself. Did he not? After 5 minutes?
He did. And Jason Thompson as well, another ex-Hearts player that was gaining at large to the crowd. But
well, anyway, I think my 3 players that stood out to me, I'm going to say Ewan Henderson. Now, I've got to say, the last time we had the Henderson and the McGinn in the team, it ended very well for us in the Scottish Cup.
We also had a bald right back, and we've also got one of them, Harry Clark, who will be fit by the time we win the cup in May.
He'll be fit. Yeah, he'll be fit for about the semi-final, I should say. That'd be good. Not getting ahead of ourselves or anything like that. Watch us go and draw Rangers at Ibrox in the next round. Anyway, but so I'd say Henderson, Nisbet for me. I think he deserved that moment. And then I'd say, you know what? I'm going to say, even although Stevenson's my third one, but I've got to say, just an honourable mention, Jasper. I thought Jasper was good. I think sometimes Stevenson was too good not to be. He's too good to be left out. But I think the other thing that leaves Jasper off that list for me is I think try to do the tricks on that surface. It sometimes was his downfall. But apart from that, he had a good game, very direct, which is what we've been needing. But yeah, Henderson, I completely agree with what Charlie's been saying. I mean, it's a running theme here, me agreeing with Charlie. But, and I've got to say, he's becoming the player that we knew we were going to get. He's getting up to that match sharpness, and he's looking every bit the good player that we knew we were going to get, and he carries the Henderson brand, shall we say, as well. So I think he was excellent, and that's what I like to see, attempting a shot for outside the box. Yes, I've got to say it was good hands for Gaston, actually. I think it was because he could have easily dropped that, and then there you go. But yeah, that's what we need more of, just to touch on that. But anyway, that's us in the hat for the next round of the Scottish Cup, a 3-1 win up at Gayfield, up at Arbroath, negotiating what is a tricky cup tie, but we'll potentially be meeting Dick Campbell's side in the Premiership next season.
That's an easy 9 points, Jack. They're shite.
No, you know what? I'm not saying we're going. I say we could meet them. Did I say anything else? Charlie, that's you. Negative mindset coming out again. Try to slip me up again.
If that's the best team the Championship's got to offer, then the Championship's a shocking league. Let's just put it out. Let me just put it there. Like they offered virtually nothing other than those 3 or 4 chances they had.
But anyway, so we'll potentially be meeting Arbroath in the Premiership next season. So do another trip up to Gayfield for Charlie, and another steak and Blackburn pie for him.
Indeed.
But so that's us into the half of the next round, an impressive win. And like I said, negotiating what was a tricky cup tie for us. So move on. And Hibs women are also in Scottish Cup. Actually, they made it a high B double for getting into the next round of the Scottish Cup as they beat SWF Championship Southside Cairn 12-0 at the Spaghetti Had. I was at that game. I've got to say, fantastic football from Hibs. And was it to be expected? I'd say yes, but at the same time, given that maybe our heads were down a bit after the Aberdeen defeat, we came out there, played with confidence, and really deserved it. So before I sort of give my overview of the game, we'll talk about the more general stuff, and I'll come to Charlie first on this one. Starting 11 comes out. What did you think? A bit of a rotated team, a few faces missing. So what did you think of the starting 11?
Nah, I think it was what I thought it would be. You know, where a few players like Alexa's in America for a family wedding, and Rhea McCafferty is abroad. And Rachel Boyle still no back from her injury, shall we say? And you know, Amy Muir's still out, and players like that you know aren't there. I think it's exactly what I thought the team would be. I was surprised though that Tony still was on the bench, but I think we'll obviously come to that. It was good to see her get on and score, but no, I think, and to see Jenna Penman get a start was good. I think that was sort of unexpected. I never seen that coming, but no, apart from that, mate, it was pretty expected. I thought anyway.
I think it's the best team we could have put out, considering the players we had missing. I did think that Dean would mix things up a little, but I was expecting Emily to come into goals. That's the only thing that really surprised me. I was thinking Emily would maybe get a chance between the sticks, because obviously Gabby's not kept a clean sheet in quite a wee while, and he maybe was wanting to give Emily a run out in the cup. But no, Gabby didn't have anything to do. But to her credit, she kept a clean sheet. Gartcairn not troubling us at all. I think the only real chance the game went way over the bar. So that, I think that was that. But yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't say I was surprised. It was a game I thought Jenna Penman would get her debut in, but I've got to say, and I will sort of talk about this a little bit more later on, but Jenna Penman is an absolute tank. I think as a fullback, she's not got much pace, but she is really strong, and she doesn't let players bully her. You know, Gartcairn's winger was quite a big girl, quite a physical player, and Jenna wasn't taking any of it. Absolutely fantastic the way she was sort of making challenges and not afraid to get stuck in there, which is what we need. I think Amy Muir's very good with her pace, and she's very good attacking fullback. Jenna Penman's definitely a better defensive option for me in terms of that. So we'll sort of go and talk about the game a bit more. So first half was a tight affair, shall we say, 6-0 at half time, and we get a penalty, and Amy Gallagher opens the scoring from that penalty. I think a very well struck penalty from Amy Gallagher, because she's not been on the score sheet for quite a wee while, so it was great to see Amy Gallagher back on the score sheet, because she ended up getting a hat trick. So Amy Gallagher scores our opening goal from a penalty. It was weird how the penalty was given. I was sitting there and I thought, as a referee, because I didn't really see what happened, although I think Kirsty Morrison, there was a high tackle, and Kirsty Morrison got caught in the face, and obviously in the spirit of the law, that is, and the letter of the law as well, that is a penalty. So, but I didn't see it. I was too busy bleeding into folk as per usual. But Amy Gallagher dispatched the penalty coolly. Nice, well struck. I think the Gartcairn keeper, no keeper would have saved that penalty. It was too powerful, too much. It was going into the sort of roof of the net, so too powerful. Don't think any keeper would have saved that. Then I've got to say, I think the pick of the bunch the first half was our second goal, and Colette Kavanagh's outrageous bicycle kick. And I think a lot of people say, Jack, why do you nickname her the Ginger Ronaldinho? There is the evidence as to why. So I think, and it was excellent. It was an excellent move from us. So Kirsty Morrison, she's going in, Cav's tracking with her. The initial effort comes off the post of the bar, and Cav's there. And I think, you know what, go for it. I was not. It's one of those ones where you go, she's either going to go for it and it's going to be a wonder goal, or she's just going to make a fool of herself. It was the wonder goal option. Fantastic for Cav there, and that's what she also there. Pedro, I've got to say to the Scotland manager, I hope you're watching that. That's why she should be in the Scotland squad. Caroline Weir would never. No, I'm kidding. But no, it was brilliant. It was brilliant from Cav. And then Shannon McGregor gets herself in on the action as well. I think Shannon McGregor's goal was all the 12 fantastic goals. None of them was scrappy. None of them was because Gartcairn gave it away cheaply or anything like that. 12 well-taken goals. I think Shannon McGregor's was probably the most run-of-the-mill out of a lot of the goals. I say it was a tap-in, but you've got to be there. You've got to be there to score them. I think the initial effort, the Gartcairn keeper parries it away, which it was. I think it was Cav with the initial effort. Gartcairn keeper parries it away, and Shannon McGregor gets on the end of it. No awareness of the Gartcairn defence at all, and she puts it away. And Amy Gallagher and Colette Kavanagh both get their other goals. And yeah, so we head into half time 6-0 up. Very, very impressive. So I'll come to
So
Calvin first.
do you think, Jack? Do you think we played well and because opposition was so poor, or do you think we played well because
I would play
I don't
well
know.
because that's what we've got in the locker, and I'll tell you why. You can only play what's put in front of you. I think that's the thing. I always say that when you play a lower league opposition,
That's
it doesn't
true.
matter what level of football that's in, whether that's youth football, men's football, women's football. If you're playing lower league opposition, you've got to give them respect and you've got to play what's put in front of you. And I think Cairn are up there with City, Edinburgh City, and Livingston as the best side in that division. You've got to remember it's a very tight league, the Championship. So 5 teams tied on points. They're a good team. They've got SWPL1 experienced players in that squad that used to play for Forfar Farmington before they folded. So Cairn have those experienced players. They have those experienced heads. So I think for me, it was a case of we did play really good football. And I've got to say, Cairn, and I was going to get your thoughts on that they were 6-0 at half time, but I've got to say, Cairn did not look like a side that were 6-0 down. They were playing like the game was still at 0-0, and they were playing some good football at times. I've got to say, I think it was just a case of we were genuinely the better side and genuinely put in a good performance. So anyway, Calvin, obviously it's half time 6-0. What were you sort of thinking? What are your thoughts that we'd put 6 goals past them in the first half?
I was disappointed because I think I said 4-1. So when I seen them scoring that much, I thought, Christ, slow down. But no, I thought I didn't really read too much into it because I thought it's good that they're being clinical, but we're always clinical against that lower league opposition. For me, I'm a wee bit critical. I would like to see us be a wee bit more finish teams like Aberdeen in that off. That would impress me a wee bit more, I think. Which may be a harsh reality, and I'm sure the girls, knowing what type of girls they are, and that, I'm sure they feel the same. I'm sure they would rather, put 2-3 past Aberdeen than 12 past Cartagena. That's just my opinion, but I thought it was good that they scored that, obviously. And I feel like hopefully it can be the turning point again, which rejuvenates them and gets them going again.
Yeah, I think considering we didn't have an out-and-out striker on the pitch yesterday up until we subbed Daly Adams on, which we'll talk about later, I think we did incredibly well considering we didn't have a striker. I think from what I seen on the pitch, it looked like
the 4-6-0
was actually playing as a false 9. That's
the
what
4-6-0.
It looked like to me. Which I think to be honest, she can play there before. She's played there before when we had Grant Scott. She has played as a false 9 before. And it worked well. It really did work well. And yeah, Kirsty Morrison and Calvin out in the wings were fantastic. So we go into the second half, and it's another 6 goals in the second half. Michaela Macaloni getting herself, she got a hat trick as well, and she was player of the match. I think the player of the match was a tough one for me. And we'll pick our own player of the matches when we come to the sort of end of talking about the game. But yeah, I thought Michaela Macaloni, excellent. And she scored, and I was talking about this when we talked about her, but she scored a goal identical to Mitchell's. Now, it's a bit different. Mitchell made it 1-1. Michaela made it 7-0. The magic, or was it 6? Anyway, whatever. We'd scored a lot of goals in that game. It was hard to keep track of who scored what when, to be honest, because it was... but so it's an excellent ball for Kirsty Morrison right across, and Michaela's there. Now, I'm going to be honest, I embellished it a bit and said it was a diving header. It was just a case of nodding it down and it went past the line. But it's still a good goal. I think the pick of the bunch for me, and Leah, I knew you meant it. This was for 12-0. Leah Eddy. Now, considering she's a centre half, it was. I've got to say, think about Stevie Mallon's goal against Hearts, but a little further back. That's what that was. We got a free kick, and I think it was actually, it might have been in our own half, it was just past the centre circle. We got a free kick. Leah Eddy decides to boot it, and it goes right in the goal. And I was speaking to her after the game, and Leah's like, I didn't mean it. I said, Leah, come on, you've got to give yourself a bit of credit here. Even if you didn't, you've got to say you meant it. But that was a wonder goal. And that would have been my goal of the match if it hadn't been for Cal's bicycle kick, to be honest. And then, as Charlie mentioned, Tony came on, and we had our super sub from Orlando, but we had our super sub from Oregon as well, Tony Malone. She comes on, sort of playing out in the wide area, which I was surprised at, because anytime she's come on previous, she's played central. So she was out in the wide area, and I've got this, was brilliant. She gets the ball, goes on her own, and just puts the laces through it. She gets it, and that's what I like, awareness. She sees that there's an opportunity. Now, I think sometimes we can be a bit too fancy. We'll try and cut it across, and we'll get to the byline and cut it in. Tony just and she's a tank, by the way, Tony. Shrugs off the defenders, goes on her own. Away you go. And that was when we hit double figures, 10-0. And another substitution I'd like to give a shout out to is Ailey Adams coming in after her injury. Great to see Ailey getting minutes again after such a long time out, after that quite bad injury at Tynecastle. Obviously, me and Calvin witnessed that at the Women's Derby. But it's great to see Ailey back. So I'll get your reaction to that, lads. I'll come to both of you, but coming to Calvin first. How good is it to see Ailey back, and how important is that to us that Ailey is back in the team?
Yeah, no, I think she's a good player, just like you said. She shows up in big games, which she's done against Hearts twice. So for me, I was delighted to see her back, and I think it was just a shame that she fell the way the injury fell. Hurting her leg, obviously, scoring against Hearts. I'm sure she still enjoyed it as much as she did, but no, it was good to see her back and good to see that she's at full health. And don't forget, it's a friend of the podcast.
I keep forgetting. Well, another friend of the podcast came on at half time as well, Siobhan Hunter. I think that was a strange substitution, actually. Joelle Murray came off.
Strange she didn't start.
Siobhan did not start. But to be honest, I expected that wee bit of rotation in defence. But obviously, I think it was maybe because Joelle is a veteran player. So maybe it's just resting Joelle. You don't want to risk her because players can pick up injuries, and I think it's fair enough in a cup game that you give everybody a run out as well. And then obviously Rosie Livingston came on as well, and I've got to say again, I think it's what it was for 15 years old, that girl's shown a lot of ability, and I think she's on a similar path to Hayley, if not, maybe even going further, because she's coming to the first team earlier than Hayley as well. So I think Rosie was fantastic. She got an assist, a couple of assists, but I think the best one was for Kirsty Morrison's goal. So Rosie gets it, and again we talked about Jasper going nyaw. Well, that's my new noise for players that go fast, go nyaw. But Rosie got it, went bombing up the wing, and like I said, considering some of these players are like twice her age, the way she isn't afraid to take them on, she goes dummies it past the Gatcairn defender, gets up the byline, pings it across. Nice, easy finish for Kirsty Morrison. That was brilliant for Rosie. The way Rosie was picking up the ball, and just every time she's going bombing down the wing, busting her gut to get up there and getting good balls into the box, which is fantastic to see. And I think it easily could have been more than 12-0, but Gatcairn were very well drilled in defence. I've got to say that, to be honest, I think the scoreline, I wouldn't say flattered us. We did deserve it. I think the scoreline, it could have been lower if Gatcairn, if we hadn't been as clinical, because Gatcairn were defending well. But yeah, we were absolutely outstanding and we deserved that. I think we were set up spot on. Every single one of the players put in a shift. And I've got to say, Jenna Penman, what a way to make a Hibs debut. Like, it's an absolute tank of a player, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. I think, for me, she's done enough to justify starting her. Obviously, it depends what formation Dean goes with. I know he prefers 3 at the back sometimes. But if he does go for a 4 or a 5 at the back, I think Jenna Penman's done enough to deserve a start. Whilst Amy Mears, I think it looks like Amy Mears is going to be out a little while longer. So I think Jenna Penman's done enough to deserve a start for me. Absolutely fantastic. Tony, again, when she came on, like I said, super sub from Oregon. When she came on, she was fantastic. Very unlucky not to get another goal. So yeah, overall an excellent team effort. We deserved it, and we're in the hat for the next round. So the draw for that is at 12 o'clock today, so you can find out who we're going to get. Hopefully we avoid Glasgow City or Celtic. That would be nice to avoid either of those two. But there's still lower league opposition left in it. Still in Uni are yet to play.
They've got to beat the best to be the best, though.
Well, you want them later on. It would be nice to humiliate Celtic in a semi-final or a final. So I think you look at it like that. We've got Stirling Uni or Falkirk. Stirling Uni and Falkirk are yet to play. You've got Kilmarnock left in it. So we do have lower league opposition left in it. Although I would like an SWPL1 team. I'd like the Hearts, Easter Road or Tynecastle again in the cup. That would be good to beat them even more times this season. Would be wonderful.
I know, but they're actually starting to look all right.
Well, to be fair, they did struggle against Dundee United yesterday. They only beat them 2-1, considering Dundee United the league below as well, and we beat them 10-2. So, swings and roundabouts there, Calvin. Swings and roundabouts. But
fair enough.
It's not every team can put 10 past Dundee United, I suppose. Only the big teams in Edinburgh can do that. But yeah, overall an excellent performance. The girls really deserved that. I think we always knew that it was going to be a big scoreline, but I didn't quite envisage 12-0. I was the closest to the score predictions. I did say it would get to double figures, and it did. But yeah, we utterly deserved it in the half of the next round. So overall, a very good weekend in the cup for the Hibs. And yeah, as they say, the Hibs go marching on. So we move on to our last segment for today, and that is the Hibs quiz. So Charlie and Calvin, are you ready? I am the master of ceremonies again today. So are you two ready for more of your Hibs knowledge getting tested?
No.
Probably not. I'm terrible at this stuff. I really am.
Right,
terrible.
For anybody that doesn't know, when I do the quizzes, it's 6 questions, 3 on the men, 3 on the women, and there is a tiebreaker if need be. So yeah, we'll jump right in. Some of them are multiple choice, some of them aren't. So we'll jump right into it. So question number 1. What now defunct Ukrainian side did Hibs face in the 2005-06 UEFA Cup first round? I'll go to Charlie first.
Dnipro.
Calvin?
Dnipro. Was
correct.
There.
So both of you are on a point each. See, I
thought you were going off on it. If you watch that back, I thought you were going off on one about 1912 or something. But no,
that's the only Ukrainian side you've
was
ever
it 1-1
played,
or 0-0 at Easter Road? And
No, and maybe
5-1 away.
5-1 away, I think.
Also, it started a friendship with the club. Obviously, the Dnipro Kids Charity, which even though Dnipro have folded, they are still
good.
Oh, away you go, Cal. I'm trying to say something nice, and you're Mr. Negative. Anyway, so the Dnipro Kids Charity, which was set up when obviously Hibs went out and seen what was going on in Ukraine, and decided to raise some money for the kids and bring them over to Scotland for a bit of respite. So I think it's brilliant, and they're still doing that now. And obviously Dnipro won, and we still have we have a bit of a relationship with the new club, Dnipro 1, who play in the Ukrainian Premier League these days as well, which I think is nice. So yeah, I thought I'd throw in a little bit of trivia there. I know also the only time Hibs have played a Ukrainian side as well. And I think when Dnipro fans came out to Easter Road, they looked at the state of Leith and went back. They'll be standing at the Dnipro stadium saying, raise money for the kids of Leith. So
I'm sure that'll be the case nowadays, Jack.
Leith's getting gentrified these days. I don't like it.
Come on, the hipsters.
I missed the job centre.
Talking about the trouble going on in Ukraine, I didn't think they'll be able to.
Oh, aye.
So we'll move on that note, we'll move on to question 2. So question number 2. What League 2 club did we sign Christian Deutsch from in 2019? Come to Calvin first.
Oh God, I actually do know this one. Oh my God. I can see their strip. It's illuminated. Forest Green.
Charlie.
Forest Green Rovers.
Both of you are correct. So that's 2-2.
We're inseparable.
This is much better, Jack. Much better.
So,
exactly.
Right. Now, this one is one of these ones where closest guess wins. How many appearances has Lewis Stevenson made for the club to date, not including yesterday? I'll come to Calvin first.
Not including yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, nearest guess wins.
320.
Charlie?
I remember he made his 500th appearance against Celtic last season, so I've won this one. 502.
Oh, Charlie, Charlie was by far the closest. Calvin, you're not a real Hibs fan anymore. You do not.
I'm not.
I'm going to guess it's about 540 now. Maybe.
Okay, Charlie, a bit over the top. Right, so you're the closest. It's 516 now, but before yesterday it was 515 appearances Lewis Stevenson has made for the club, making him the most appeared. That doesn't make any sense. It makes him the longest serving Hibs player of the 21st century with the amount of appearances he's made. So impressive.
Paul Hanlon must be.
He's not in the 500 club yet, though.
He's nearly in it, though, is he not?
Oh, it's him that's done 220.
So anyway, 515. Charlie gets the point there. So it's 3-2 to Charlie, like what we did to Rangers in that Scottish Cup final.
Didn't you put my name in the same bracket as Rangers?
Calvin, I think after some of your whining, you deserve it today. Anyway,
I think
I'm not here. Listen,
so now move on to the Hibs women questions.
I don't do if buts and maybe it's only absolutes.
So, which one of these players has been at Hibs women the longest? A. Amy Gallagher, B. Colette Kavanagh, or C. Leah Eddy? Come to Charlie first.
I mean, they've all been at Hibs since I started watching them. I'll go with what's the option? What was the options again? Sorry.
Amy Gallagher, Colette Kavanagh, and Leah Eddy.
Amy Gallagher.
Right, and Calvin.
That's what I was going to say, but I'll change it. I'll go. I think that's the answer, but I'll go Leah Eddy.
Charlie is right and extends his lead to 4-2. It's Amy Gallagher. Amy Gallagher joined from Forfar Farmington in 2016, whilst Colette Kavanagh and Leah Eddy both joined the club in 2019. So we'll move on to our next Hibs women question. So again, this is multiple choice as well. What Austrian club did Tony Malone play for before she joined Hibs? Was it A, SKN St. Pölten, B, Wacker Innsbruck, or C, Rapid Vienna? I'll come to you first, Calvin.
D, Motherwell. Nah, read them again.
So it's St. Pölten, Wacker Innsbruck, or Rapid Vienna?
A.
Right, so you're going with St. Pölten. Charlie?
The only reason I know this is because you interviewed her and you spoke about when she played for Wacker Innsbruck, so it's B.
Charlie's right, and it's now
listen to the
Charlie. See, this is Calvin.
I used to have been sharing answers before. I can't used to talk. You used to be sharing answers.
So, question. No, I don't think we're needing the tie. I don't think we're needing the tie break today, to be honest. But question number 6.
Calvin, what me and Jack talk about stays between me and Jack. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
that's the tiebreaker. Ask us what colour is the Hibs jersey.
I can do that. Yellow, but we're not talking about the third kit. No, I'm sorry. Anyway, Calvin, can we please not interrupt the quizmaster? Anyway, question number 6. How many times have Hibs women won the Scottish Women's Cup? Nearest guess gets the point. So, Charlie, you first.
The Scottish Women's Cup, as in
the Scottish Cup, not the League Cup.
All right, okay. 6.
Calvin.
4.
Charlie is the closest. It is 8, and it is now like what we did to the Hertz. It is 6-2, Charlie.
So,
yeah, we've won the Scottish Women's Cup.
I bottled it, man. Jam bottled it.
We've won the Scottish Women's Cup 8 times: 2003, 2005, 2007, 2008, 2010, 2016, 2017, and most recently 2018, which is my background there. Now, Calvin, I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. You can answer the tie-break question just for pride. Charlie, you're not allowed to answer this one. Like what? See, I did it for you. So, who is the shortest serving manager in Hibs history, Calvin?
Sozy?
Correct. You got that one right. You got that
60,
right. Well
get
done.
it right up, yeah.
You got a consolation. You got a consolation goal there. 69 days Frank Sozy was in the job. So it's short serving Hibs manager. And that concludes my quiz. Can reveal that Charlie won 6-2.
Finally.
6-3.
Well, no, Calvin, you're not getting.
Nah. 6-3.
6-3. We'll go with 6-3 then.
Charlie
won 6-3. So well done, Charlie. There, think some impressive knowledge is Charlie, and if Charlie proves that he actually watches my content, so
I watched it. I watched it. Oh, you cheeky bastard!
You need to take notes, Calvin. You need to take notes.
I know.
So anyway, that concludes episode. We'll be back some point during the week to preview our upcoming fixture against Ross County as we return to league action. Just a little reminder to folks, we did say we were going to interview Leah Eddy. Unfortunately, Leah had to postpone, so that'll be coming out later on. Just thought I'd share that with you all. So the interview with Leah will be coming out later on. We've got a new date arranged with Leah, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Calvin, I see you have your hand up. You've been a good boy. You're not interrupting. What is it?
I do. I just like to remember everybody this is the day today.
I was going to say
Rangers
the same
went
thing.
into administration.
How could I forget?
So just if you can light a candle tonight, just to commemorate them.
Just to commemorate Rangers. R.I.P. Rangers football.
Gone but never forgotten. Rest
Gone,
in peace.
but mostly forgotten, I'd say. Anyway.
Rest in peace forever.
So yeah, just a bit of housekeeping there that we'll be bringing Leah Eddy on at some point, but unfortunately Leah had to postpone for personal reasons. But we will be bringing her on, and we've got a few more interviews getting set up in the pipeline as well. So keep your eyes peeled, guys. But until next time, glory to Hibs.